And now, Effective Communication with Phil Zeller, CEO, Dale Carnegie, Southwest Michigan.
So there I was this past weekend, Sunday afternoon, and yours truly is out shopping. Yes, I was shopping. Much to my wife's enjoyment, she says to me, "How cool is this? It's a Sunday afternoon and we're out shopping. This is great." She said, "You must be getting more patient and relaxed in your older age." She's probably right? So I'm out shopping on a Sunday afternoon, and we're at an outlet mall with several stores, a very large campus of different shopping enjoyment and pleasure. And so we're out shopping, and of course, to go shopping and make it worthwhile, you've got to be shopping for something. So my wife and I were in the market for getting some new shoes. We needed some new casual shoes. It was time to upgrade the wardrobe, as they say. And I recall she was going to one store, and I really didn't feel like going to that store. So I decided to mosey on down this way, go a different direction, and just started going in a couple stores. And then all of a sudden I realized time got the better of me, and I was thinking, and again, maybe it was too fast, maybe it was too slow. I don't know. I'm not a professional shopper. But all of a sudden I get a call from her, and she says, did you find some shoes yet? And I said, no. And she said, well, let's go to this store over here. And I said, well, where's that? And the first thing she asked me is, well, where you at? Right? That's the first question you ask somebody when you're giving them directions to where you want them to go, is you say, where you at? So she asked me where I'm at, and I told her where I was at. And she said, all right, well, I'll meet you there, and then I'll walk with you, and we'll go to this other store. All right, worked out well. We made it, and sure enough, by the end of the shopping experience, I did get two new pair of shoes. Not one, but two. How cool is that? It was buy one pair and get a discount on the second one, so it all worked out. So I got two new pair of shoes. But the key today on effective communication is that question that she asked me. Where you at? Where you at? You see, in life, you can't give anybody directions and help them get to where they need to go with your help unless you understand where they're at. And oftentimes we know this when giving directions. It's impossible to tell somebody where to go if we don't know where they're at. We can't help them get there. But how many times does this happen when we're having a conversation with somebody where we assume they could go with us and meet us where we're at, and yet we can't get them in the conversation on board with what we're talking about? They don't understand it, they don't want to understand it, or they're just not present in that conversation. So how do we meet them where they're at to be able to get them to where we want to go? Deal in the conversation is we've got to understand what they're thinking. We've got to think about what they're thinking and meet them there, because they're not going to think about anything else in the conversation till we meet them where they're at, just like giving directions. Remember, Dale Carnegie said that a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. So the key is meet them where they're at in the conversation. So in that shopping conversation, one of the things that we found in agreement was that we were looking for shoes. And so when my wife said, where are you at? I found a place that's got shoes that might work for you. Well, she's speaking in terms of my interest and what I was there to look for, because obviously I'm not the biggest shopper in the world, and I want to be there for a purpose. Maybe I'm a typical guy. You decide that for yourself. but I wanted to go get some shoes. So she found out where I was at, told me where we could go to get shoes. So we found a point of agreement getting shoes somewhere. So then I went with her. And the same thing's in a conversation. Meet a person where they're at, understand where they're right now. What are they thinking? And why are they thinking that? It opens the door for the start of the conversation to go someplace else. But if you don't understand where they're at, they're certainly not going to go with you to somewhere you want to go in that conversation, because you know what? They've got other things on their mind. So to make better use of your time in communication and conversations, meet people where they're at, understand what they're thinking, understand at that moment in time, pertaining to the context of what your discussion is, what's important to them. And if you start the conversation there, you're going to find a point of agreement, because you can talk about why that's a valid point to address that situation. Once you do that, they're going to say, great, we're on the same page, right? They may not say that out loud, but mentally they're going to think it. Now you start to build on the conversation. And on the show, we give a lot of tips on how to have a great conversation with somebody. But the key to get it started is understanding where they're at in order to get them where you want to go with them. But you got to meet them there in the conversation. So find that common ground with them, and you can build the conversation from there. In the end, you'll have better conversations with people, and you'll build better relationships. Now go make it happen.